Welcome to the first in a series of support and training videos for the CompCalc AWS version. My name is Richard Montalban. For the next 8 to 10 minutes, I'll be covering with you the basic features and functions of the CompCalc AWS version. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. It's not the intent of the law office of Richard Montalban or Richard Montalban or any licensee of the CompCalc to create an attorney-client relationship nor provide legal advice or opinion. All users of the CompCalc are instructed to verify all information and data provided by the CompCalc with either a competent workers' compensation attorney or with the DEU. Last comment, the CompCalc is an estimator, not a calculator. Okay, let's go ahead and begin. Now, the CompCalc AWS stands for Amazon Web Services. That means that it's an internet-based program that is fully accessible via the internet through a licensee's website. Last year, I was approached by a couple of my partners and asked to develop a CompCalc version that would run on their website. And so we spent the latter half of 2019 developing, testing, and now it's ready for release. I was really pleased to see that the California Applicants Attorneys Association has selected the CompCalc AWS version for their website statewide, and we've entered into a license for that purpose. Currently, the CompCalc AWS is being tested by AIG, and I'm hopeful that that's going to end up with AIG selecting the CompCalc for their adjusters and claims offices throughout the state. Let's go ahead and begin. Of course, we have to go to the internet, and I have, you can see I've got my favorites set up here. I'm going to go ahead and you can see I've got the California Applicants Attorneys copy. I also have AIG's copy, and now I'm going to go into the CompCalc 2020. Let's go ahead and close this down so I can open it up so I have a full screen here to work with. The first thing I want to cover with you is the toolbar across the top. You'll see that we have a navigation icon here. Tap on that and it shows you all the different modules. You've got the permanent disability rating module and schedule. You've got permanent disability indemnity. That's the PD chart. That also does COLA calculations on 100%. You've got the temporary disability. Now, new for the 2020 on all versions, all desktop versions, not the iOS or the Java version, the smartphone and iPad and Android devices. And the new for the other versions, however, is in the temporary disability module, we now have an average weekly wage calculator where you can put in the periods and the earnings, actual earnings, up to 52 weeks prior to the date of injury or whatever period you want to use to calculate the average weekly wage, and use that average weekly wage calculation to calculate the TD rate. Also, we have an export feature now in there that allows you to actually print out the ribbon, if you will, that you've just run of average weekly wage, along with the TD rate, the average weekly wage, the TD rate, and then also if you happen to put in a calculation period, a retroactive period, it'll generate that for you as well so that you know exactly how much TD is owed. Life pension, future value, present value, COLA calculator. This is applicable to either life pension or 100% cases. Life expectancy, job displacement benefits, death benefits, date calculator, QME codes, body part codes. We're always looking for those, aren't we? Combined value equation. This allows you to use a hypothetical to do a combined value of various percentages where you have a multi-string on a single date of injury and you want to combine those. Support and training, that gives you some background information, but if you're here listening to my voice, you've figured that out and you're able to you're going through the videos. And then of course, about us. So that is the navigation. So that takes you through all the different modules. You can see right now we're in the first module, which is the disability rating module. Home. This takes you to the website, back to the website, within the website that you were using the CompCalc from. And then, of course, we have the Microsoft and the Apple so that if you want to download to your desktop permanently, not so you don't have to have an internet connection, if you're using a Mac OS or if you're using a Windows 10 computer, those are available for purchase. We also have your file, your save. This allows you, once you've done a rating, now this isn't with all modules, but here in the PD rating module, it allows you to save a PD rating, a multi-string rating. You can then, once it's saved, load it back up, and it automatically formats for you your email so that you'll have a hard copy of your multi-rating string or single rating string that you can put in your file, either electronically or a hard copy after printing it. Edit, depending on which module you're in, this allows you in the PD rating module to add a new rating string, delete a rating string, clear all inputs. You can copy, paste, select a rating string. So those are all options that are available within this module, not across the board. Some of them you wouldn't even need. And then view, we have some really neat graphics that are available now with our version on the internet, and it allows you to clean up so you can really see what you've selected within each one of the different options that you have, and you can open and close those. One of the things that, and this is part of my tutorial or support and training video for the rating, is you can switch between occupations to select just occupations. Let me show you that. Let me open that up real quick for you. Here's all the different occupational groups, and you can do a search on that because we have a search engine on all these various fields. Or you can just go back to the occupational industries, and then depending on the occupation or the industry that you selected, the occupations within that industry. And of course, here's the rating string. And then, of course, we have the help icon. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm just going to take you through how you input and how you export within the various modules. Let's start out by just doing, so I can get you started, just doing a really simple rating. And we're going to start out by, first of all, clearing all input. So we're going to take it back to the basic, okay? We don't have much in here. We've got, it starts out the default. Given the dates of injury that are already up there, but we're going to go through and change some things. And I want you to be familiar with how the CompCalc works and what's going on here. Understand, first of all, that privacy was critical on developing the CompCalc. I did not want the user, the end user of the AWS, storing information up in the cloud. So the only way that you can store information and all calculations are done locally, not up at the cloud. While the code, the algorithms are up in the Amazon Web Service server area, all calculations and all storage are done locally on your computer. So you should feel comfortable with that you have complete privacy. That was something that the California applicants' attorneys were adamant about. Okay, let's start by showing you how to input. Of course, for a rating string, we have to have the date of birth because we have to figure out the age. We have to have the date of injury because that's going to dictate what the benefits are. It's also going to tell us age at injury. We have to put in the whole person impairment. If there's apportionment, we have to put in a percentage. And then, of course, we have to, let me go ahead and open this up real quick. I'm going to flip the table so they're all open. We have to put in the part of body. We have to put in the detailed part of body within the general part of body. Then we have to select an occupational industry and then an occupation within that industry. And that's going to produce a rating string adjusted for age, occupation, part of body, and DFEC or 1.4, depending on the date of injury. And when you put in the date of injury, it's automatically either going to apply 1.4 or it's going to go to the schedule and apply this scheduled DFEC rating. Average weekly wage, the default is always going to be max given the date of injury. But the nice thing about the CompCalc is you're able to go ahead and input an average weekly wage and modify that so it'll automatically calculate your PD rate never above the max or below the min given the date of injury. And that's what it does with all indemnity calculations. It calculates never above the max or below the min given the date of injury. Think about that. It just is absolutely correct every time. And those of you who are seeing this for the first time should rest assured. This has been in the development for almost 5 years now. And I have literally thousands and thousands of install bases. We've run thousands and thousands of tests and comparisons. And I feel pretty comfortable that the CompCalc is as accurate as any application can ever be. As far as testing and completeness as well now. Okay, of course, combined value. If you have multiple rating strings, you want the combined value on or off, depending on if you're going to argue kite applies or not. So let's go ahead and do our first rating, and we're going to start inputting. So now you're familiar with everything. We've gone across the top for the toolbar. I've told you what each one of the functions and features are. Let's see how we input the data. There are two ways to input data. One is to go to the calendar pad and just double click, and if you go up here to the year, we're going to go ahead and say this is date of birth is 1960. Okay, and I already have it on January. We're going to change that to January 30th, 1960. Okay, we're going to hit OK. And just like that, we just input it. Now you could go ahead and actually just type that in if you wanted to. That would equally work. Now we're going to say that the date of injury is 2016. Okay, now let's go back. You know why? Because I want to show you what the DFEC does. Let's go back to 2012 because we're going to go, this is going to be a scheduled DFEC because we know the schedule for DFEC was taken away as of 1/1/2013. So we're going to use the 2012 date of injury, and you're going to see the rating string reflect the DFEC per the schedule. After 1/1/13, there is no DFEC. It's just a straight modifier of 1.4 at the rating string. Okay, and the date of injury, we're going to say it's the, we're going to go ahead and go into April. And we're going to go with the 25th of April. I'm going to hit OK. And we have now the 25th of April 2012. Now I want you to look at something down here. You see the DFEC? The modifier no longer says 1.4. It's actually giving you what it is. Now the whole person impairment, we're going to do a DRE 3 or 13% standard. Because everybody's familiar with that. I've just inputted the impairment. You saw I did that. I just hit the arrow. It gives me a drop down. I rolled to wherever I wanted, and I clicked on that. Now I'm doing this over the internet in my office, which we have high-speed internet, but realize that we have optimized all calculations, so it's very, very fast. Apportionment. Now this is the back, and the doctor has told us that he believes that it's 75% industrial. See how that changes? And now we're going to go to part of body. I want to close this down. Okay, right now it says cardiovascular. I'm doing this so it's not so cluttered for you. We have selected cardiovascular, heart disease, agriculture, and a beekeeper. We're going to change all that because what we have is a truck driver. Okay, so we're going to go, first of all, into part of body. He has a back injury, so we're going to go to spine. Now you're going to see that the part of body generally and the detailed part of body, what we did was we built an array, and these are indexed. So when you select one, it limits you to that part of body. Also, we put a search engine on this. So if I just want a lumbar DRE, you can see I just put it at LUM, and it brings up all the lumbar, and I'm going to go with the DRE. And now industry. Now for industry, I want you to see something. On the industry, we have all industry or any industry. Any industry is going to give you overlapping occupations. All industries is just going to give you an alphabetized list of all occupations. Okay, but we're going to select, this guy was a mechanic. No, he was a truck driver, wasn't he? So let's go to, let's see what happens if I put in truck. No, How about transport? Motor transport, okay? And I said that he was a truck driver. So right there's driver, truck driver, garbage, truck driver. We're going to use that, okay? So now, and here's my rating. You can see that we've selected, let me close this down so it's easier to see. We've selected spine, a lumbar DRE of the spine, motor transportation, and truck driver, garbage, truck driver, garbage driver. Now, we've suggested, or we've indicated that we want 75% apportionment to industrial causation, 25% to non-industrial causation. And you can see what the rating string does. Let me just change this real quick to 100%. And you can see that it takes it away. It's 23%. But as soon as we say it's 75%, it automatically adjusts everything. You can see that it gives us the input for average weekly wage if we want. Otherwise, it's going to be max, which is $230 for the date of injury. It gives us combined value, but that's no import here because we only have a single rating string, and it gives us the full value. Now, what happens real quick if I change this to $300? Now, this should change this to $200, and it should have a modest change. And it does, down to 210. Now you can add a second rating string. And now we're going to work on that second rating string. Let's say it's an upper extremity. You can see how simple this thing is to use. No apportionment, same part of body. We're going to go with upper extremity. Let's say it's a peripheral neuropathy type. What do we want to use here? Here we go. Arm peripheral neuropathy. And then we're going to go, the occupation is all the same. We're going to leave it there. Let's close all these down. And now we have a rating string. Now, right now we have combined value on 17 and 23 should be 40, but it's actually with combined value 36. So I can turn that on or off. And you can see the dollar amount automatically modifies. And of course, we're using average weekly wage of $300 for a PD rate of $200. Okay, when we get to this point, we probably want to go ahead and export that. So if we want to send an email, if we have everything set up correctly, it automatically formats our email for us and it's ready to be sent. It's just that simple. I can save that. Go back to the CompCalc. Okay, that's the first module, and you can kind of get the sense of how powerful this is and how quick it is to use. Let's go on to the PD indemnity. Now, one of the features is I put some information that I think is relevant in each of the separate areas. And you can see here I've got some information regarding Ogilvy, Guzman. I give you a checklist, some of the applicable labor code sections as well. One of the things that you should note right over here is the 15% up or down. If that applies, we actually go to a different, change this to 15%. We actually go to a different formula, a different algorithm to apply the 15% up or down given the date of injury, if it's applicable, and it's going to give you all that information. Let's see what happens to this module if you can see it only goes to 99%. Now, why does it only go to 99%? It's because this is permanent disability. It's not an award of total disability. Let's go back up here to future value, present value. Now this is really cool and so simple to use. First of all, you have to have the date of injury in. Then it's going to start with a life pension, and we're going to say it's an 85% life pension. Age at first payment. Age at first payment. We're going to say this guy was 60 when he received an 85, when he sustained an injury, which ultimately resulted in an 85% award. For life expectancy tables, we can use the 2008 or 2010. We're going to put a COLA inflationary rate. We're going to put it at 3.5. Present value discount rate. So what COLA gives, the discount rate takes away. We have annual, semi-annual, quarterly, and monthly. We're just going to go with an annual calculation for compounding purposes of the COLA and PD. We have to select gender. We're going to go with a female. Average weekly wage. We're going to modify this. It's not a great consequence on this because it's still going to be a PD rate. So we're going to go with max. It gives us a PD rate. And look at this. It gives us the printout of the full value. Now, the full value of this case is, after application of the present value in the COLA calculation, is $298,322.47. That amount is going to be the total present value COLA calculation of the PD valuation, applying present value of the PD because we're paying that over time. Then the life pension kicks in, and the PV COLA of the life pension is another 114 for the aggregate of 398, 322. You can see that'll be paid over a total of 24.4 years. Paying out the PD alone is going to take 12.91 years. The remainder of his life expectancy after payment of the PD is 11.49 years for a total life expectancy for a female at age 60 of 24.4 years. Now, here again, if you want to save this and send by email or load it, if you've already saved it, those are available options. And you can see right there's your full life pension. It's ready to go. Automatically formats and generates that email. Okay, let's go to temporary disability. This is really cool because we added something this year. We were asked by one of our partners to add this feature for their claims associates, for the adjusters in their office. But let's take a look at this. Right now this is a standard temporary disability indemnity chart. That's what this is. If we put in the date of injury, we can put whatever date of injury we want. Okay, so we just put in the date of injury. Now we need to put in the average weekly wage. Now you can see for 2015, the max average weekly wage is $16.54 for the maximum TD rate of $1103.29. We can also calculate retroactive periods from a start date, and you can see that this is idiot-proof. We put 318. It knows that we can't have a period of TD before the date of injury, so it automatically uses that as our start date for the period. But here's what's new this year. We put in the average weekly wage, and we tap on this icon, which is a little pencil, and it comes up and it says manual input for periods and wages. We click on that, and bam, we're going to now be able to, if you're an adjuster, run a tape by inputting the period of payment and the amount of payment. And it's pretty simple to use, and it's going to automatically calculate your average weekly wage as well as your TD rate. Again, never above the max or below the min given the date of injury that you put in there. But let's just put a couple in and see how it works. Let's say you're going to start from 3, and it's going to use 7-day increments. And let's say the first we're going to pay, let's say it's $450. And all I'm doing is hitting this plus, and it automatically assumes it's going to be $450. But let's say it's $500. And it always assumes the last one. Let's say this is $525. I'm trying to get an average here. We'll go $550 on this one. Okay, now we just calculated all this, but let's find out what it is. We're going to go back. Well, first, let's go back here. And we're going to, real quickly, you can see it gives us our manual average weekly wage, gives us the TD rate never above the max or below the min given the date of injury. And now what we want to do is we want to know a retroactive period. Let's say that we're picking up the claim after the 90 days. So we just accepted it, and now it is not March 18th, but let's say it's July 14th, and we want to know how much TD we owe given our tape, which calculated the average weekly wage, and given the date of injury and the average weekly wage, what the actual TD rate is. How much do we owe? Well, first of all, it tells us that we owe 16 weeks, 6 days. It also tells us that the total number of days is 118, and given the TD rate of 33750, the amount that we owe is $56.89 and 29 cents. Now let's say that we want to go ahead and send all this information, including a tape, by email. Watch what happens. It just ran a tape, printed everything out, gives us our TD rate, gives us our average weekly wage, and given the period, it actually exports for us the amount that we owe the injured worker. And that can either be copied or stored, or however you want to do. Send it to your electronic, or you can just go ahead and copy this out and put it into your Word document, whatever you want to do. Okay, let's go back. And that's a new feature. Life pension, there's nothing too exciting there. That's just a scheduled. We've already gone through present value, future value. One of the things that I want to show you is if you go to the present value COLA calculation, you go to 100%, and you're going to see this screen change. Now, as it changes, you'll see that all we want to know is the value of the case based on TD payments for life, and that's when the average weekly wage is important. Right now, it assumes the maximum average weekly wage for the maximum TD rate given the date of injury, which is 2015. If the applicant, again, is 60, using 2010, and has a COLA, I always think 4 is high, so we're going to go with 3.5, but I think 1's a little low. We're going to go with 1.25. We're going to calculate that on an annual basis. It's going to be payable. This award's going to be payable over 21.5 years. Let's use a female, because women live longer than men, so that's 24.4 years, and look at that. It's $1.8 million. Is the value of this case after application of the COLA inflationary rate, cost of living adjustment rate, with a present value discount rate. Okay, let's just go through the modules quickly. We have life expectancy, job displacement. We're always looking for that, though. It's always good to have it. Death benefits, that's always great to have. Date calculator. Now, I'm old enough to remember the whiz wheels, and I know a lot of people down at the board are still using those. But the nice thing about a date calculator is it gives you the days, months, and weeks between two periods. And I use the date calculator so much, whether I'm at the board off my iPhone or those of you who have Droid devices and have the CompCalc, we're using that all the time. So, but my calculator gives you the days, the months, and the weeks as well. We already talked about the QME codes, part of body codes, and it's going to give you your output down here. Combined value equation. Now, here's why this is, I don't know who asked for a combined value equation hypothetical. I think it might have been Jason Marcus. But here's how it works. We're going to go ahead, and let's say we have 4 or 5 rating strings, and we know the first one is going to be 15%. We're all pretty solid on that. But the next one could be 30% or it could be 40%. But we want to see what a 30% as a defense attorney is going to look. The last one we're fairly certain of, but we think that it's probably going to be 34%. Okay? Now, take a look at what happens. The combined value on this is 61%, If you add these together, you'll note that you have 69, but after application of the combined value is 61%. We have to put in our date of entry. We can put it in our average weekly wage. Given the date of entry, it assumes the maximum for average weekly wage for the max PD rate, and we're looking at $104,182.50 after application of the combined value equation. I know everybody listening to this is aware of this, but the combined value equation generally, the presumption is that it applies. The exception to that, of course, is where you have medical evidence, a medical opinion, that the most accurate rating is application of the kite decision, which uses aggregation. In this hypothetical, 15, 30, and 34, that would be 69, not 61. Okay. And of course, support and training and about us. Okay, that completes the basic features and functions. Hopefully this will get you started and you can see the power of the CompCalc. But what I would tell you is, for those of you who suggest that, I like to use the books, I would say two things. Number one, you're going to make errors. And number two, if you're billing by the hour, or even if you're an applicant attorney where your time is so valuable because you have so many clients trying to get a hold of you, the CompCalc makes what used to be a 10 or 15 minute chore inside of a minute, as far as looking up or rating or doing whatever needs to be done. Okay, that concludes the first of 3 support and training videos. Please be sure to review each of the next this was basic features and functions, but also review the advanced tips and techniques, as well as rating, which goes into greater detail. Okay, thanks so much.